Hey guys, so 49ers lose 2017, heart-wrenching game. Just really, it was a real rough to watch. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Uh, they lost for multiple reasons, but mostly because they just could not. The offense could not sustain drives, and especially after they went up 10, it was like after they went up 10, they just the play calling and the play by Jimmy's play just kind of just took a nosedive, and we just weren't able to make plays at all. And I mean, and it stretched into the defense too, but mostly it was the offense. They just because we knew that the Rams are a good team. Rams are a good team. All the talk about, oh, we have the Rams number and Kyle lives rent free in McVay's head. The reality is that these are good teams that you don't just you don't just how do you put it? You don't just roll over these guys. Oh, we're up 10. Oh, great. We got a whole half of football. We got a whole half of football to play. I mean, it wasn't a whole half, but it was. I believe they still had. They were up 10 with like a few minutes to go in the third, and it's just. I felt Kyle played it conservative. He wanted to run the ball, which normally wouldn't be an issue for us, but they were selling out against the run, and it just destroyed. It just kind of destroyed any continuity we have. I mean, feel free to throw in a play action every now and then, Kyle. It was, it was, there were a lot of things that caused this loss. But the reality is that today, the Rams were the better team. As much as 49, it hurts as a 49er fan to say that. The Rams were a better team today. And McVay was coached his team up. He had them ready to play better than Kyle did today. Uh, I will say that this team is I still believe that the 49ers are the better team overall, but you cannot argue that they were not the better team today. Their offense, they did enough to win. They did enough to win. And but this is the last game of Jimmy G's career as a 49er, and it ended fittingly with that wild exchange at the end where he ends up just throwing the ball up and they end up intercepting it. It's that's kind of a microcosm. I think I put that on Twitter today. That's kind of a microcosm of Jimmy's career. Uh, he he kind sometimes he just throws the ball up there, and he's exactly what we kind of said he was all season long. At least since I've been doing these podcasts, he was pretty much the exact same thing that I said he was all along. Was he's not a he's good enough to get you there when you have all these pieces around him, but he's not a what we would call a winner. He's not gonna put anybody on his back and carry them anywhere. So, and we got exposed for that today. We all knew that that's what it was, but the reality is we got exposed today for that part alone. It was that we did not have we were the only team in this final four that did not have a quarterback that could put the team on his back and carry him even through like just a quarter. Because this is the thing: did Jimmy make some good throws? He did make some good throws, but he when it comes down to consistently making reads, consistently making throws when guys are open, he fails. He fails quite often, quite frequently. And not to say that he fails every time, but it happens quite frequently. And if it sounds like I'm a little frustrated by that, I mean, you'd be right. We just lost the game. We lost the game because of the sheer fact that we did not have a quarterback that could put his team on his back. And we can point to other reasons why we lost, but it really comes down to the quarterback in today's NFL is supposed to elevate your team, elevate your offense, and we don't have that type of quarterback. That's the way it goes. So it's over now. It's over now, and now there's only the Super Bowl left. 49ers will not be a part of it. We are now all Bengals fans. At least I am. At least I am. I'm going to be rooting on the Bengals because uh, the Rams are the Rams. They are still our enemy, and I do not want them getting a ring. I want them not having a championship since '99. I want that to continue. So I have nothing against the Bengals. So I actually like Joe Burrow. I've been saying he was. I've been kind of behind that guy since he got drafted. I thought he was, even when guys were sitting there saying that, oh, he's not mobile enough. He's not your typical today quarterback and all that kind of nonsense. The reality is this: the guy makes throws and he makes plays. I mean, the guy makes plays. So, but go Joe Burrow. I want because yeah, it's the Rams. I'm never gonna root for the Rams. So there's a couple of teams that I will never root for. That's the Rams, the Celtics, the Cowboys, the Seahawks. None of those teams will ever get rooted on by me. So, but let's move on. Let's talk about the Rams for a little bit. Let's look at the stats and see what they actually did in this game to to put them over the top. I mean, so the Rams played well. I think the Rams played well. They matched our energy from the very outset of the game. We all talked about how we were playing bully ball, and they were not to be bullied today. I mean, you have to understand that these are grown men and that they're not going to allow you just to come in with all the talk and say, oh, well, they're soft and like all that kind of nonsense. These are grown men. And while we can sit there and point to different plays and say the 49ers should have beat this team, the reality is they did not make the plays they needed to make. And honestly, the 49ers were kind of undisciplined in this game. There was a lot of undisciplined plays that were made by the 49ers that don't normally happen. And it was kind of it felt like they were just more juiced up than normal, and they were just a little out of control at times. So, but yeah, so Matt Stafford, 31 of 45, 337 yards, two touchdowns, one interception. Should have been two. Should have been two interceptions, but we'll get into that later. Uh, he played well most of the game. Made some beautiful throws. That corner throw against the cover two early in the game, that was beautiful. And but he also showed that he's still the same reckless Matt Stafford that he's prone to be. But I mean, his connection with Cooper Cup, and now honestly, and now with Odell Beckham, he's building it with Odell Beckham too. I mean, that's pretty undeniable. Those guys, they played well off of each other, and Cooper Cup, it seemed to me like they really kind of picked apart the 49er defense, and I shouldn't say picked apart. They only scored 20 points. But the way that the game looked, it was that they were just killing the 49ers, just dragging them up and down the field. But then when they got in the end zone or in the red zone, a lot of the time the 49ers would either hold up or they would make a play, and it couldn't go on for the whole game. So it was. Our offense did not take advantage of great field position over and over and over again. But let's get back to the Rams. Run game was working early for them until the 49ers kind of shut the faucet off. At a certain, I like that. I really kind of like that analogy. They just 49ers came out there and they just shut the faucet off, even though Troy Aikman was. And I don't want to say something about Troy Aikman for a little bit. That guy is an obvious 49er hater. I don't care what anybody says. He takes every opportunity to say something bad about the 49ers. Like, it doesn't matter if we win, lose, whatever. Even if we win, he sits there and says, well, they shouldn't have really won. And he makes comments like that. I mean, it's ridiculous. But we're always salty when we lose, right? But the run game was working early till the 49ers kind of clamped down on them. They tried to do the same kind of wide zone concept that the 49ers use, which I thought was an interesting little wrinkle. And I talked about in my last podcast. What was McVay going to do differently than he had in the past? And I think that this in the beginning was the main wrinkle that I saw that they were doing differently, and it opened up the defense just enough, just enough to give those wide receivers some openings underneath and in that mid zone area. So it was like their running game was working early, but Akers ended up with 13 carries, 48 yards. Michelle had 10 carries for 16 yards. So it wasn't like they were going off or anything, but the reality was they were getting some chunk plays in the beginning of the game, and it really I think it really kind of affected the 49er defense in the beginning. It opened up for sure opened up lanes for Cooper Cup. But Cup and Beckham kind of destroy the 49ers secondary on short routes all game. It was Cup had 11 receptions, 142 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Beckham had 9 receptions, 113 yards. But honestly, it doesn't even tell the story like of what was going on. Cup was just masterful in his route running, and I know that's what he's known for. But in the past, 49ers had kind of been able to corral him, and he did K'Wan Williams dirty multiple times. We thought K'Wan Williams was going to be the key in this game to kind of shutting him down, and that was not the case. That was, he did K'Wan Williams dirty on a few routes, and then Odell Beckham made some really tough catches that I was really impressed because I didn't think Odell Beckham was tough like that because he took some shots and still kept coming back. So I mean, hats off to Cooper Cup and Odell Beckham. They really kind of just they showed out when they needed to. Blanton, the tight end that came in after Higbee, who I had never heard of, he ended up getting like 59 yards and made a couple of really good plays. He made a couple of really just clutch plays at the time when they needed it. But that really came down to Matt Stafford recognizing that they were leaving him all by himself. And kudos to Matt Stafford for seeing him, and kudos for Blanton to really to take advantage of the opportunity. I mean, the Rams defense, in my estimation, the best thing that they did in this game was stop the run. They did not allow our running game to get off in the slightest. There was a couple of times when we got a couple of yards, but for the most part, our run game was non-existent, and that's really the best thing that they did all game because they had no sacks. They only had 3 QB hits, but Jimmy was uncomfortable the whole game because they just stuck everybody up to stop the run, and they were going to make Jimmy beat him. And I mean, the reality is we know that Jimmy is not that type of guy. If he's got to shoulder all the responsibility, it's going to be a long day. So, but yeah, defense shut down the run game, and they dared Jimmy to beat him, and he couldn't. We all knew that it was coming eventually. Jimmy's played poor in these playoffs. He's played poor this whole playoffs. I mean, he doesn't have anywhere near the amount of touchdowns as he has interception. Actually, I take that back because he got 2 touchdowns in this game. Uh, thank you, Debo. But yeah, I don't care. He had more interceptions than touchdowns in this playoffs. And any other team, you would say, how did you even get to the championship game? But that says enough about this team that they could overcome his excuse my friend, but they could overcome his piss poor play to get to the NFC championship game. And they still came within 3 points. They were up 10 at one point. So this team, I feel, is going like I mean, I'm talking about the Rams right now, but I keep going back to our team because I really feel like the Rams didn't do anything that could not be overcome if we had had a competent quarterback. And he's on our team currently, but he's not going to be. I would say in the next couple of months, we're going to hear about the trade to wherever he's going, or they just outright release him. But either way, he will not be on the team. I think all 49er fans are going to be up in arms if he's on the team come camp, or even to be honest, come the draft. He better be gone by the draft. But okay, let's move on to the 49er offense. Uh, and I had said that the O line was key. I thought the O line did an admirable job in the pass game. I mean, they had zero. They allowed 0 sacks. They only allowed 3 QB hits. Any other game, you would take that. Which brings me to Jimmy and Kyle. And honestly, it was talking about the offense. It was an embarrassing performance by Kyle in the play calling department. He just continues to struggle playing with the lead. And we've seen it over and over this season. He struggles just putting his foot on somebody's neck and just continuing to put the foot on the gas. Like it's really frustrating. Now, it could be Jimmy not wanting to make the mistake. And it could be that we could find out later that he had open wide receivers all over the field. But I mean, it is what it is. Like I feel like he called a lot of runs into brick walls, and there was no play action being called. I'm going to be looking to see how many play actions were called in this game because I don't believe there. I mean, I can't honestly. I can't really remember seeing more than 2, if even that. And it's just really frustrating. It was really frustrating watching it and saying, okay, he's got to play action here. Oh, he's got to play action here. And just nothing. But yeah, we're going to go back to Garoppolo. Garoppolo struggled throughout this game to sustain drives. He went 16 of 30, 230, so barely over 50%, 232 yards. He did have the 2 touchdowns, and he had 1 pick. The wild exchange at the end of the game. I can't believe that was his only pick, the way he was throwing the ball. Because there should have at least been 3 to 4. But the 2 touchdowns, he threw an absolute. I want to give him his credit so that all the bashing that I do on him isn't completely. So people don't say that I don't give him any credit. But he threw an absolute dime to Ayuk on that long pass, and to be honest, Ayuk should have had a touchdown. He should have had a touchdown. That should have been a touchdown. It shouldn't even been to they shouldn't have even had to count on Debo. But he threw a great ball to Kittle for the touchdown. But the Debo touchdown was all Debo. Let's not make mistake. Like I mean, we're not going to give him credit for that touchdown to Debo. That was a ridiculous run by Debo. After that, he did little to nothing. And I challenge anybody to tell me what he did after that. because he was just non-existent. Run game was terrible for most of the night. Rams sold out on the run, counting on the fact Jimmy couldn't beat him. Mitchell went for 11 carries, 20 yards. Debo went for 7 carries, 26 yards. I'll be interested to see, like I said, how many play actions were called, but I felt like Kyle did not do a good job of alleviating the box. He allowed them to just stick all their guys up front, and we never loosened them up. Never. I mean, we had the couple of touchdowns, but I'm talking about in the second half, they didn't show anything to loosen that defense up. The defense went right back to what they were doing, and they said, we just figured Kyle's just going to run the ball," and they were right. We just kept running it into a brick wall. No wide zone, no tosses, no nothing. No changing anything up. Nope, not going to do it. Uh, wide receivers, wide receivers look poised to dominate in this game. I'll be honest with you, but Jimmy wasn't getting him the ball. He missed a couple of he missed a couple of wide open guys. And when they did get the ball, they all made plays. I mean, Ayuk had 4 receptions, 69 yards. I I mean, I can't even remember when he got the ball thrown his way in the second half. But yeah, Debo had 4 receptions, 72 yards and a touchdown. Kittle had 2 receptions, 27 yards and a touchdown. Jennings 2 receptions, 8 yards and a crucial first down. You gotta give Jennings his love for that just gritty play. He caught that ball behind the first down marker, and he just dragged people to get there. So it was when your guys are giving you effort like that. Debo's making that crazy run. Kittle gets the touchdown. That was on Jimmy. And then Ayuk was playing like he was. You gotta get them the ball. You've got to get them the ball. And I just felt Kyle did a piss poor job of scheming up ways to get those guys the ball. And I'll be interested to see later on down the road if it really was Jimmy or if Kyle like actually had them schemed open and Jimmy just didn't get him the ball, or if it really was just Kyle just playing conservative. But the way it looked to me was Kyle just failed to make it a priority to get them the ball. Let's move on to defense. Because honestly, talking about the offense, just it was. I mean, there's really nothing to talk about. Everything that was to talk about was when the 49ers were up 17-10 or 17-3. Wait, 17-7. They were up 17-7, and that was the last we heard. That was the last we heard of the 49er offense. So, but a result for the defense, D-line didn't dominate. That was the difference. That was the difference in Matt Stafford being able to throw for over 300 yards. Was the D-line did not dominate. We can complain. That they were held. They were, but they didn't dominate. I mean, that's just the long and the short of it. They were a step late getting Stafford every single time, and they ended up with 2 sacks, and they had 9 QB hits. But I mean, in order for this defense to thrive and to hold teams, they have to had. And I don't want to make it seem like they were terrible. The defense was terrible. They held them. I mean, they got 20 points. They didn't get some outlandish. It wasn't like they got dog walked up and down the field. They didn't. But it wasn't the dominating performance that I think a lot of us, I would venture to say most of us were expecting, because the defensive line was not able to get pressure. And granted, yeah, were they getting held? Yeah, they get held every game. So what's the difference? It just seemed to me like they were a step slower in this game. The Rams met their energy, uh, and and yeah, their offensive line played better than most offensive lines that played against us. So that's what I saw. And but the D line's lack of pressure was evident early as Stafford just took advantage of the cushion our DBs were giving their wide receivers because normally we get pressure. But when we don't get pressure, that lets Cooper Cup run his routes, have time to run his routes, and that allows Odell Beckham time to get down the field and pull up in those zone spots. And it was what it was. So kudos to the defense for not allowing a bunch of touchdowns. Like, I mean, they did give Cooper Cup his two, but I mean, but that they held him to two touchdowns as well as that offense was playing. I thought it was kudos to the defense for holding, for bending and not breaking all night long, especially in the second half when Garoppolo was just not able to sustain drive. It seemed like they were on they lost the time of possession battle. I mean, they got murdered in time of possession. So I thought that the defense did a really good job for what for how long they were on the field. They didn't seem gassed. They did. I feel they did their job. I felt like this loss was squarely on the offensive shoulders. But defense made a huge stop on fourth. That was a huge play in the game. Should have been a huge momentum swing, and it just wasn't. Tart's missed interception. Who knows? We're all gonna say coulda, woulda, shoulda has been, but I mean, as good as the defense played, there was a couple of plays throughout this game. There was a few plays that they just had. I mean, blown coverages. Guys were open over the field. Matt Stafford was just missing them in the beginning. So, yeah, it was. It was really. I was really worried in the beginning, but yeah, Tart's missed interception. People are going to really come down hard on Tart for that missed interception. And I was in the game when we were in the middle watching the game. I was coming down. I knew that that would be a huge part of the game because I just felt like the way that the game was going, Jimmy was not going to be able to bring us back, and that's the way it played out. But another huge play by another huge gaff and just kind of showed the 49ers just undisciplined play by the defense was that Aziz penalty where he goes and he didn't get penalized for hitting the guy late, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was Cooper Cup. Like he didn't get penalized for hitting him late, but he got penalized for taunting. It's like, come on, man, this is not the time. And I thought that it wasn't even that big of a taunt, but this is not the time. This is not the time. So it is what it is, but all those little things just kind of added up. And and honestly, as many mistakes as the 49ers made in this game, they should have lost this game. And but this is the thing, 49ers have made mistakes before in prior games. And they somehow found a way to win the game. It was too much to overcome in this game. It was just too much. But yeah, my prediction of 27-14 didn't really go as planned today, and it ended up going the exact opposite. It ended up being a close game, but we didn't quite make it this time. But the result was the Rams beat the 49ers I feel they beat them at their own game. At the end of the day, they had the better QB, and that was the difference. 3 points. 3 points, and that was the difference. Was that they had they had a quarterback that could get them down the field, and we did not. So it is what it is. But I am now a Bengals fan for the rest for one game for one game only, I'm now a Bengals fan, and I think there's going to be a lot of 49er fans that are Bengals fans. Uh, it is what it is. Do I think that the Bengals can beat this Rams team? I absolutely do. After watching them beat Kansas City, I just don't think that you. I don't think that the Rams have now. The Rams have the pass rush for sure, but do they have the secondary that can cover those wide receivers on the Bengals? And the fact that Joe Burrow is not Jimmy G. He's going to throw the ball all over the place. And they have a running back in Joe Mixon. So I think this is going to be a big. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think that the Bengals absolutely have a chance to win this, and I for one will be rooting for them. Um, but if there's one bright spot in all of this, is that there is no more Jimmy G on the 49ers. That is the last time that we will have to watch him fool and fumble around. And this is the thing: Trey Lance may not end up being as good as Jimmy G. May not end up getting as many wins as Jimmy G's because we're going to get into this in a little bit, but it's going to be a different team. But he may not. But I just don't want to see Jimmy anymore. I'm so tired. I think we're all emotionally spent of making excuses for this guy and having to sit there and tiptoe around because you got these Jimmy stands out there that just refuse to accept, or they hide behind, oh well, he's a 49er, so you got to support him. You can still objectively critique somebody. And when my wife that doesn't really know much about football can watch a guy play and say, "Oh, that guy don't look right," or "Oh, it looks like he's not even looking. It looks like he doesn't know where to go with the ball." I mean, when people that have never watched the game before, or that are not used to watching the game, can sit there and tell that he's trash. I mean, it says all there is to say about it. So, but no more Jimmy G. We now have a chance to move on to a world where we may not have to hold our breath on every pass. What do the 49ers get for a QB? What do they get for Jimmy G that just played the way he did in these playoffs? Guy had more interceptions than touchdowns in the playoffs. Now, granted, we got to the NFC Championship, but that was the team. That wasn't Jimmy. So, what do they get for him? And I think this is the thing that makes me almost not so much angry, but disappointed because I said and I mean, obviously, I didn't say this in the podcast because I just started the podcast, but I've been talking to guys on Twitter for over a year now and we had been talking, and I said during the draft, I said, they have to trade Jimmy. They have to, because you don't keep the incumbent quarterback when you draft a guy that you traded three first round picks for. You don't keep him on the team because it confuses first of all, it confuses the team. Second of all, it's not good for that guy's development. And people are going to say now if Trey comes out next season and plays really really well, everybody's going to say, all the Jimmy stands are going to say, see, he benefited from sitting. Well, I think we saw him uh, develop right before our eyes in one game. How much better would this team have been? I think that for a lot of us, there's going to be a lot of what ifs after we see Trey play next season, because I just have a feeling this kid is going to be good, and we're going to have the what ifs because this team right here was a Super Bowl caliber team. In my mind, it was a Super Bowl caliber team that we were missing one piece, and I felt like they didn't give that guy a chance to develop and become the missing piece. I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but that's how I feel about it. And but we have to move on now. We have to move on now. And now we are in a position to where we have to trade. We have to trade. They have to get rid of Jimmy G now, and they're probably not going to get any more for him than they would have if they had traded him last season. And the whole reason why they didn't trade him supposedly was because he had no trade value last season because he was coming off an injury and because he played so poorly before the injury. So now you play him the whole season, supposedly building up that trade value, and then he plays like he did in these playoffs. Now, what are you gonna get more for him than you would have gotten? I don't think so. I don't think so. So I will be shocked. I don't think any team that will give them even a second round pick for Jimmy Garoppolo is like they need to be fired on the spot. That GM needs to be fired. And so one of those GMs is going to give up at least a third, if not a third and a fourth for Jimmy. And he's going to do exactly what he did in this game. And they're going to be saying, "How could you give up a third and a fourth for this guy?" I'm predicting it now. But they have the 49ers have many free agents in this offseason. So team could look completely different next season. And I know they got to pay Debo, they got to pay Nick Bosa. Those two guys are non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. They got to pay those guys. So it's going to be a very interesting dynamic because you got Tart that's a free agent. You got a bunch of guys that are free agents that it'll be. I'm wondering who they're planning on just letting go to become free agents, and they're going to try and replace in the draft, and who they're just going to sign. They're going to try and sign somebody else. Um, But that's the beauty of the NFL offseason. I'll be honest with you. This is my favorite part of the NFL offseason is the team building aspect of it and watching teams really kind of build towards the future, build towards the next season. And this is why the NFL has so much parity is because teams change, coaches change. We don't even know if we're gonna have the same defensive coordinator. And so how this team is going to be constructed is going to be a hot topic in this offseason. And I will be here for you for it. Um, but it's draft season for me. And I love doing all the mock drafts. And without Jimmy on the books, what free agents did the 49ers pick up? Because now they just picked up a bunch of cap space. And granted, they're going to have to use a lot of that to re-sign Debo and re-sign Nick Bosa, but it should still leave them with some extra left over to sign at least one to two guys. So, but thank you everyone for the support throughout the season. Uh, I'm still gonna do a podcast weekly because the NFL don't stop, and the Odd Couple Pod will also keep going as long as I can get Nate to go on there with me. Great season for the 49ers because remember, we weren't supposed to be here. We were not supposed. We were 3-5 at one point this season. So 49er fans, be proud of this team. Be proud of this team that they got. We got to the NFC. We got to the NFC Championship with the worst quarterback in the playoffs. Worst quarterback in the playoffs. So it's yeah, just be proud of this team. I know I'm proud of this team. I love the fact that every week was just kind of an adventure, and it was just interesting to see how they were going to win every week. But yeah, now it's draft season. Let's see what the 49ers what this front office cooks up. Who we lose as far as coaching goes. I have a feeling we're going to lose D'Amico Ryans. Hopefully not, but and then there's always the possibility of losing Mike McDaniel. Um, we'll see, but there's going to be a lot to talk about in the next few weeks and next few months. But next week, but of course, I want to say go 49ers. But next week, it's going to be go Bengals. And I just can't say it enough. Thank you guys for coming on, watching me, and listening to me on Spotify and all the different outlets, Google, Anchor, all that. So thank you guys for your support, and you'll see me probably maybe tomorrow, but sometime this week. And yeah, thank you guys for listening. I appreciate all the feedback and all the love. So uh, go Niners, even when in defeat. Go Niners.